What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am, of course, your host, Reckless Rex Ruger. That, of course, is the Freddie Mercury puppet. This is, of course, going to be another amazing episode. I'm also a little biased, so I think they're all amazing. But this one truly special because he's not only a return guest, I like to consider him a friend of the show. Anytime anybody is a repeat guest on here, they have become a friend of the show, but also a part of not only my childhood, my upbringing, my life, my all-time favorite musical artist right here. Part of working closely with him for years and years, creating with him. We'll get into more of that when he gets in here, man, but I can't gush and fawn over him enough. I'm super stoked to have him back on here. But before we get into that, let's first address the elephant in the room, that you know that you're looking at Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. You can stop scratching your head and thinking it, because yes, it is true. I am the one and only love child of one Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. He does not know it yet, or he's in denial, but we all know that you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band, adored by millions of fans, the peanut butter to your jam, Mr. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, wop, bop, loo, bop, wop, bam, bam, shazam, hot damn. Cha-ching, cha-ching. The kid can't sing, but he's got plenty of star power, man. I mean, just take a look. The smoldering good looks, the luscious long blonde locks, the obvious undeniable charisma that right now is oozing out of me and coming right through the screen and washing over my viewers right now. So you're welcome. That being said, again, I'm very excited to have my guest in here. I can't wait till he gets in here. You know this show for having rockers on, for having metal guys on, but we'll also chop it up with anybody from all walks of life, from any genre of music. But being a predominantly hard rock metal guy, Prince has always held the loftiest of positions amongst my musical taste and my favorite artists. He is here and everybody else is here. And that's no disrespect to anybody else who I love and listen to. That is more me giving the late great, rest in peace, Prince, his flowers, which I can never do enough. And my guest is here, so enough about me droning on and on. We'll get him in here and we will chop it up. I'm excited. Let's go. There is a doctor in the house.
Hey.
There is a doctor in the house, and I'm glad to have you on here, man. First of all, thank you, man. Always an honor to have you on here. And I want to jump right in, Matt, and I want to just address the elephant that's been in my room for a long time. And before we get into talking about your career, so much has been bandied about this story. Are you able to explain this at all? And is there fact to this story?
Okay, what does that say? Jackson, what
That says Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, okay, that's false. Completely
That's false. Okay.
That location, let's just start with that.
Okay.
There is a story behind Prince and I being arrested.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard that story.
I don't know if I've heard it factually told. Yeah.
But you've kind of heard that story?
Yes.
All right. Well, I don't know who photoshopped that thing of Prince, but that's not even his hands and fingers holding onto the sign saying Jackson, Mississippi. They just like photoshopped that and put it out there. I don't know why they did that, but it's false. Fake news, as they say.
All I've ever known about it was that there was a megaphone associated. Was the story that I've always heard.
Yeah, so I like to call it the megaphone incident.
Okay.
And I haven't really told this story a lot, but it's coming out in my forthcoming book, but I don't mind telling it here.
Okay, please. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, we were on the Rick James tour. This is early 1980. We were on the road for the first time with being an opening act for a successful pop group or funk group called Funk and R&B.
Okay.
Rick James. Yep. He wasn't really. And so we were playing we were in Memphis. Yeah, we were in Memphis at the time. And we did a gig there that night before, and we had to fly out that morning to make it into Huntsville, Alabama to perform. So the night before, or a couple days before, we're on stage. I'm with Prince at soundcheck. I said, "Hey, Prince, I had this idea. You know, it'd be fun is to, I don't know why I was inspired by this. I may have seen it with a policeman or a safety person had a megaphone. You know, those
Right.
electric. You know, I said you should use a stage prop at some point during the show and bring a megaphone out and do something with it." He goes, "That's really a good idea. I haven't really seen bands do that yet or anything." Anyway, we get on the plane that morning, 2 days later, and Prince and I are sitting next to each other on just a regular jet. There was no first class on this particular jet. And this was North Central Airlines, which later was bought out by Northwest Airlines, and then which later was bought out by Delta Airlines. So we're flying North Central, and I go to the overhead bin to put my carry-on bag up there, and I see that there is a bullhorn up there, an emergency one for the plane in case, stewardess has to yell at everybody through the bullhorn. I said, "Prince, guess what? There's a bullhorn up there. Remember that idea I had?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Why don't you take it down and show it to me?" I said, "Okay." So I took the bullhorn out, it was like strapped in. I had snapped it, took it down, handed it to Prince. He's looking at it and he goes, "You think you got room in your bag for this?"
Yeah, I think fans have always known there's a mischievous side to Prince, definitely.
Well, I am too. That's the thing. We're both rebels. We're both rebels, really, both of us. So anyway, I go, "Are you sure? I don't know. We could get in trouble." I did. I questioned it right away. I said, and he goes, "No, just check and see if it'll fit in there." I go, "Okay." I tried to, my bag was full. I couldn't get it. It's too big. I said, "Prince, that's not going to fit, but I'm going to put it back." He goes, No. Go ask Des Dickerson, or Des. He goes, "Go ask Des, our guitar player at the time, if he's got room in his bag." I said, "Okay." I don't think he's going to go for it. I know Des isn't going to go for this, right? Yeah. But I do it anyway, because when you're the boss and you're asking your work guy to go do this, usually you don't refuse, right? It's like, "Yes, Mr. Trump." No, anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, direct order.
Yeah. So I go, "Des, can you fit this in your bag?" "What is that?" I go, It's the bullhorn. Prince wants to keep it. It was up above the bin." He goes, "You can't take that off the plane." "Well, see if you can fit it in your bag." He goes, "Okay." He can fit it in his bag, so he does. He puts it in his bag because, as a good soldier, he follows orders too.
Right.
So I go back to my seat and I say, "Des has it in his bag." He goes, "Oh, cool." So within the next maybe 5 minutes, the pilot comes out of the cockpit, and me and Prince are like way up front, like almost the first couple rows, right? Non-first class plane, DC-8 or something like that, little 2-engine.
Yep.
And he goes, DC-9. It was a DC-9. He goes, "It's come to my attention that somebody has tried to remove from emergency equipment from the plane. And you should return it immediately or face federal prosecution, or it is a federal offense to remove emergency equipment off an airplane." And so immediately Prince stands up and he goes, "That's my idea. I did it. Yeah, we took it." Or no, Des stood up and said, "I have it." He returns it, and then they want to take Des off the plane because they think he had stolen it. They were going to arrest him. They were going to arrest him. They didn't give a shit if we gave it back or not. They were going to arrest whoever gave it to the back.
Right.
So they're about to take him, and Prince goes, "It was my idea." And I said, "Well, it was actually more my idea, but Prince approved the idea." So then we tried to take it off the plane. This is what I said to the pilot right there. I'm talking to him. I said, "I'm sorry, we didn't know it was a federal offense. Could you please forgive us?" He goes, "No, you're going to have to face the consequences." And they called the airport police. They took Prince and me off the plane because we were the instigators, not Des.
Right.
They put us in a car, took us to a holding room in the terminal, and then they called the Memphis police because the pilot was going to press charges. So they had to take us downtown in a police car, handcuffed. Prince and I handcuffed in the backseat of this car.
Wow.
Down to the Memphis jail downtown, and they put us in a holding room. like one of these cells where they put like people who were drunk all night on the street.
Right.
It's just like,
Yeah.
graffiti on the walls. They're just
Yeah.
gross, So a few minutes later, some girl comes up to the window, a woman. She looks inside this little teeny window. She goes, "Prince, is that you?" She heard we were in there. "Prince, what are y'all doing in there?"
Yeah.
Prince goes, we got in a little trouble. I can't go into it right now. She goes, "Well, can I get y'all's autograph?"
Wow. So, and this is now, mind you, now
he wasn't big yet.
Right, he wasn't the big international global superstar that he would become.
But people down south at that point, "I Want to Be Your Lover" was a hit on the radio.
Right.
And the first album had been out, so there was already some buzz on him, but "I Want to Be Your Lover" was a bona fide hit. We had done American Bandstand.
Okay.
And all that stuff, and been on TV. So people actually were starting to, go, "Oh, wow, this guy's really cool."
Yeah.
So she knew who he was, and she was a policewoman. She was in a uniform and everything. One of the administrators at the police station. So anyway, long story short, our tour manager's tearing his hair out, and he's talking to the police and talking to the airline and saying, "Hey, these kids they're just kids." I was all of like 21.
Yeah.
Barely 22, maybe. I just barely turned 22. Prince was the same age. He was actually he was 21. He's a little younger than me. I was born in February. He's in June. Yeah. So this was like December of 1980.
Yeah.
And might even been November or December. I'm sorry, December of 79. That's when we first hooked up with Rick and got ready for that tour, I think. So anyway, we're out on the road, and so he convinced the pilot and the airline to drop charges and let us go so we could make our show that evening in Huntsville. But then they said, "You can't take our airline anymore. You're done. You're banned." Wow. You two guys. Wow. The rest of the band can fly on North Central if they want, but from now on, you and FINK are done. So there were no flights from that airport to Huntsville the rest of the day. So we had to charter a twin-engine Beechcraft, private guy, and fly into Huntsville that way, and we just made the show that evening.
That strikes me, though, as going a bit overboard, and I'm certainly not advocating for breaking the law or bending the rules or anything. But it sure seems like an awful lot of ballyhoo for a pretty small infraction.
You think?
Yeah.
But we're talking about.
Must have been a slow day at the office. I don't know. I mean,
no. Wait a minute. No, just you forget. We're down south. It's right. The 1980s, albeit it's still things are better with race relations, but it's still black folks.
Yeah.
Black folks may be causing trouble on a plane.
Oh man, we can't have that.
Can't be doing that. Down south, where Rick James is already getting in trouble because we're on what's called the Fire It Up tour, right? This is the Fire It Up tour. You know about the Fire It Up tour?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so they were bringing out joint costumes, guys with holding joints, big giant joints with handles on them, with smoking from the top. And people would light up weed in the arena on the first song. It would just, all you have to do is stand there and get a contact high. And then Rick would light up weed on stage and drink Courvoisier and God knows what else he'd backstage. He was doing coke probably. Regardless, the cops, I never forget this, they came up on the stage and said, off the side of the stage before he went on the stage, they said, "You can't smoke weed, we'll arrest you. We know you're smoking pot in other cities, we've heard." And of course, in their southern, we were in Alabama at that time, I remember, and he goes, "Nah, Rick, you can't go on stage like that."
Right.
Because we're gonna, we don't want to have to arrest you now, but that's the law. And and they said it. I said it right to his face while I was standing there. I'm not kidding you. And so he didn't light up because he knew, but the audience lit up because the cops cannot stop everybody.
Right. And now here we are 40 plus years later. Nobody would even bat an eyelash at it.
No, nobody would give a shit now because it's legal and it's medically legal in half the states in the U.S. now, and another percentage is for recreational use too, besides medical. But I digress. Marijuana is still like any substance is not healthy if you overdo it.
Sure.
So
everything in moderation.
But with that said, it's way better than alcohol.
Oh yeah, I agree
Way
with you.
better.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Especially
Yeah.
if you're doing gummies and you're not smoking it.
That's where I am at this point right now. I got pneumonia last year, and I was a daily smoker. But once I got the pneumonia and I started to cough stuff up and really purge everything out of my lungs, I said, you know what? It's a 21st century. There's safer and more responsible ways to do it. I'm 52 years old. It might just be time to call it quits. And now I'm strictly on the edibles, and I enjoy them.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Fink says I endorse that.
And now I got a prescription. Yeah, now I got a prescription from a real bona fide doctor. I want to ask you, because you work so closely with Prince, and he's influenced so many people. But did he ever talk about his own personal influences? So much has been made about the comparisons between Prince and the Revolution, and like bands like Sly and the Family Stone. But did Prince ever talk about who directly influenced him? I mean, to you, he may be on record in other interviews as maybe saying who influenced him, but
he never talked to me about his influences.
No,
really. He just, I could tell what they were because he would have records out on the floor in his house all the time. He always had tons of albums laying out.
Yeah.
And he'd just be listening to stuff from all the new releases, other influences that he enjoyed. I was the same way, so my influences are vast, and varied, because I grew up in a household with everything on the radio, on the record player. We had every genre going at any given moment in our household, because my parents loved music, and so they instilled that in me. They were musicians. They dabbled in being musical, but they were theatrical. They were actors. They had degrees in theater, both of my parents. And they did a lot of theatrical work, acting locally here in the Twin Cities.
Okay.
When I was a kid growing up, they did a lot of work.
Now, Prince had like a few, offshoot side projects, other endeavors. What were your opinions on some of those? And did any of them stand out that you particularly thought were really good? Like, I know that Vanity 6, Apollonia 6, Morris Day in the Time, I guess maybe could be considered an offshoot of Prince. What were your opinion on some of those, and which ones did you think were really, really good?
I just thought everything he did was amazing and brilliant.
I know. I hate to sit here and toot his horn. I've spent most of my life doing that, being such a huge fan. But yeah, he did kind of have the Midas touch.
I'm just his henchman. I'm the guy that said, let's take the bullhorn off the plane. I'm just his side man. I was his support matrix, one of them. And for 12 years. So yeah, obviously I loved what he did. I may have left too soon after 12 years, but it was, weird circumstances around that. But so it's all going to be in my book. I'm not going to talk about any of it until
good idea. You want to sell books. You do want to sell books. That's true.
The book.
Yeah, the book.
Everybody's doing a book, right? Everybody's, why we're all doing books? Because we're older.
Yeah.
So we want to get that out there, and it's going to be a great book. I sing Prince's praises all the time.
Sure.
But at the same time, he was a human being.
Right.
He made mistakes. We all do. He's not here anymore.
Yep.
I still love him. I don't judge him. And one time he sent me a card. He says, "John, don't judge a man until you know him."
Yeah.
He sent that card to me once for Christmas because I had been judgmental of him about something. Yeah. He knew I was being judgmental about it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he did seem very like astute, and even oftentimes there have been people who have kind of read into his music and thought almost prophet-like in some of the things that he wrote about that were kind of coming on down the pike. You know what I mean? Like, even think about a song like Sign of the Times. He really seemed to be tapped into stuff that was going on in society, almost having a great deal of foresight.
He did. He used his voice and music to project what he was thinking. He didn't talk about it to me ever. He never talked politics. He didn't want to.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go there with anybody, because actually when you start mixing workplace environment with politics, it can be bad if people don't agree with you,
alienate
with
fans.
your side. Well, if you have coworkers and you're politically different in your views, it can cause issues.
Sure.
So I stayed away from politics unless I knew the person talking to me in the band was aligned with my belief system.
Yeah. Right.
If I sensed they weren't, I would just politely say, you know,
that's a smart way to go about it. It is.
Let's agree to disagree, and I still love you, and that's fine. Have a great day.
What was your opinion? What was your opinion on Prince's his movie career? You know, obviously there was a lot of acclaim around Purple Rain. You guys are actually featured in that one. Under the Cherry Moon, a little bit more panned by critics. I personally love the movie. What did you feel like what Prince did on film on the big screen? What did you think of him, his acting chops, so to speak?
I thought for someone who'd never really acted before, that he did a decent job, but I could still see that it was a freshman kind of effort.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because he didn't have any theatrical training or guidance. I know he was getting some leading up to the movie, but he also had a natural affinity to just be himself in the movie, which it was pretty evident. But I could tell he was also pushing some stuff. You know, that's not really how he is in real life.
Right.
But I could, so he was doing some affectations, as I like to call them, that were not his personality in reality.
Did anybody in the band feel a certain way, or express any feelings about the Revolution not really being included in the Under the Cherry Moon movie?
Say that question again. Sorry.
Did anybody in the Revolution, kind of feel like left out or disjointed because they weren't in the Under the Cherry Moon movie?
I have no idea. Nobody ever said anything to me that way.
How about you yourself? Like, were you kind of like, hey, why aren't we in this movie? We were in Purple Rain.
No, I didn't feel bad about it at all.
No, obviously the music is in there.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like we were being underutilized or anything like that. It was kind of nice to have a break actually while he was in France. While he was filming, we were all home, and then he brought us out there to Nice for a month. Actually, we were supposed to only be there like a week.
Okay.
Shooting a video, just hanging out. He just wanted us there to hang and do some stuff because we had to shoot stuff with him.
Yeah.
For the movie, because we did mountains for the end of the film credits, and then the song America video was shot there in Nice as well. So he had us out there, and then he kept us out there longer than he intended. So I was out there for a solid month with the group, and then we went back home. But part of that time, we were just, hey, have fun, guys.
Yeah.
Stay in the hotel.
Yeah.
Come out to the shoot and watch us film if you feel like it. Otherwise, go sightseeing or travel around France a bit. You know, it was like, oh, okay, thanks, boss.
Not a bad offer. Yeah.
That's a very generous of you to bring it. So I had no complaints or a feeling left out. Of course, I would have loved to have been in the movie.
Right.
If they'd offered me the chance to be in a movie like that, but since it didn't happen, it's okay,
But it was also a little bit different storyline, though. You guys kind of played directly into the Purple Rain storyline.
Well, as an actor, see, Prince didn't know what he had with me. He really didn't, and I grew up acting a lot in plays and doing all kinds.
Right, that was why I asked, because of the theatrical background and the the exposure you had to it. That's why I wanted to know your feeling on not being
in that respect. Yeah, I was underutilized in Purple Rain, in my opinion, and anything else going forward. But that's fine. I don't have any complaints about it.
Yeah. I mean, you were on some incredible Prince albums, and I know Prince probably looks at his songs and or his albums. He's very protective of them. I'm sure all of them have a special place to him. But during your tenure with Prince, if someone were to ask you to point to a specific song or an album where you really feel like as a band you guys were really cooking, what would be the spot where you would say, hey, here's my personal highlight of when we were really at our best? I know that might be a loaded question, man, because I think everything
it's always loaded. That's
yeah.
always loaded one for me, because people have
Yeah.
asked that before, but it's like saying, what's your favorite Prince song?
Right,
As a player, what's your favorite song to play? So that's a tough question for me, because there's so many great ones that are fun to play to this day. I enjoy getting out and playing them. I also enjoy getting out and working with other people too. For instance, this guy right here, this band, Lolo's Ghost, I produced a couple of their records
Okay.
and years ago, and I still play live with them from time to time here locally.
And what genre of music are they?
I would call it Americana.
Okay.
It's and it's it's singer-songwriter. I would liken it to Springsteen meets Dylan meets
Okay.
Tom Petty, any of those people.
Okay.
It's in that wheelhouse.
And,
But
and
it's really good. Check it out on Spotify.
I will.
Really good, great
Every time
songwriter.
someone turns me on to something, I always make a note of it to follow up and check it out. Now,
my friend James Loney's the leader. Go ahead.
Another project you were involved in. The Purple Experience. Are you still doing that?
No, I let go of that back in the end of 2016.
Okay.
I worked with them. Although I did guest a couple shows back in 2023 in October.
And so you would refer to them as what, kind of like a tribute to Prince of the Revolution. What's your assessment of what they do, and are they how do they pull it off? In your opinion, obviously you were associated with it, that they must do a pretty decent job. For people that don't know.
Yeah, I think Marshall Charloff, the front guy, and the rest of them do a decent job pulling it off. Have you ever seen them live anywhere?
I have not, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, and Marshall has done a lot of stuff with orchestras where he just is the main guy and doing the Prince thing with the full orchestra backing him. He was doing a lot of that. The Prince estate didn't like him doing that, though, so they kind of put the kibosh on it for him. And of course, Prince really didn't like me doing it either, but I did my best to ask his permission to do it, but he was unavailable. Whenever I tried to reach out to him, he was never available. He couldn't talk to me, or nobody would put me through. It was really weird.
Yeah.
But I have other theories about why he didn't communicate with me for a while. And
folks, now allow me, Doc, to give the plug. And those will be in the book.
That's right. I was about to say it's going to be in the book.
Yeah.
And it will clear it all up.
Yeah. And now, what was the impetus? For writing the book? Obviously, you've probably got a treasure trove of great stories or whatever. Is this your idea? Does somebody propose this to you?
No. It's my idea. It's my idea. I've been kind of slowly working on it for a while.
Okay. And is this your first? For people who don't know, your first foray into writing?
Yeah, for doing a book. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find it? What did you find? I'm assuming you're still in the process of it. How are you finding the process? Is it cathartic? Is it hard to recall some stuff?
No, it's great. It's been a great process. Other people in the band have put books out. Mark Brown did, Des Dickerson, Owen Husney, Morris Day.
Yep.
A number of people have put their books out. I think Bobby Z is working on one too.
Okay.
So everybody has their story to tell about their time with him and their lives. It's kind of it's like a biography. Some people do it that way. Like when Owen put his book out, it was his whole life, and he just had one big chapter about his time with Prince, and that was it.
Right.
And did you ever read Owen's book?
I haven't read Owens, but I've had,
good book. And Peppy Willie put a book out too.
Yeah,
one of Prince's mentors. Go ahead.
It seems like once Prince passed, it seemed like all of a sudden there was an influx of books about him. I mean,
yeah, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to look like I was capitalizing on it that at that time, and I didn't do anything really. I felt that capitalized on any of that, other than the revolution reuniting, and then we capitalized on it.
Yeah,
for a few years.
I'm glad you brought up the revolution reuniting, though. Like, going forward, man, like, will we see any more of that kind of stuff? And what is your relationship and the current status of the remaining members of the revolution?
Everybody's busy with other projects, and there's nothing in the works at this time to do anything.
Yeah. That's I feel like
Well, it comes a time, you just, it's like without your
Right.
leader, it's hard. It's hard to sustain
Very.
a
Yeah.
thing like what we were doing. And we did it for a number of years, for 3 years after he passed, and then COVID hit, and that put a monkey wrench in everything. And trying to come back from that hasn't been easy because everybody's careers got put on hold during that time
Yeah.
too. While they were doing the revolution thing, other aspects of their careers were put on hold. So that was a problem for some of the band members, which I totally understand why that
And now,
happened. What they did.
and now, you originally were not going to be, you were not going to have the Scrubs. Initially, it was a different costume, correct?
Yeah, I had a, if you go back on YouTube and watch the American Bandstand performance, that's what I was wearing when we first went on the road with Rick James, and then I had switched over to the Doctor because Rick was wearing a jail suit on a song.
The inmate, yeah, he was already the inmate.
Yeah, and then Prince requested that I change my look.
Yeah, yeah. And did he suggest? And did he suggest the Doctor thing, or did he just kind of give you carte blanche for you to?
Yeah, he gave me carte blanche, but with approval.
Yeah, yeah. Now, there's been so many stories and myths. I'm sure you've probably heard tons of them, about Prince. I'm curious. I always hear that, it was almost like otherworldly, how he could just pick up an instrument or sit at an instrument and play it. Did he have formal musical training, and how many instruments could he really play proficiently? So much has been made that he could just pick up anything or sit at a drum kit or just handle anything that you put out in front of him.
Well, from what I witnessed,
yep,
he grew up with a father who was a great jazz piano player and had his own band. And then his mother, I believe, was a singer that worked with his father as well. So he was exposed to all that at birth, much like I was with, seeing my parents perform in plays when I was like 3 years old for the first time. You see that, and it becomes a role model for you.
Yep.
So, Prince developed a great ear, obviously. He didn't need to write the music down or to write chord charts for anybody or himself. I think he learned theory through his father and maybe some other people on his way up while in school. I'm sure he knew what chords were and all the scales and notes and everything you needed technically that way. I'm certain of that. But he didn't utilize it when he wrote. He never did. And it was all up here. And then he obviously practiced and learned on guitar, bass, and drums and keyboards. I saw him play those 4 instruments proficiently throughout the time I was with him and beyond, of course. And as far as woodwinds or flutes or horns or anything, I never saw him try that or do that. I never saw him try to do horns or anything, unless he did it in the studio when I wasn't there.
Okay.
He may have done some other instruments that I don't know about. I'm just talking about what I saw and how proficient he was and how he could stream of consciousness thought of the part he was going to lay into the track and play it like more often than not the first take on any given instrument. He would know in advance. He could hear it in his head and play it, and he knew the arrangement. He would like lay the drums down with the other music in his head going like, okay, this is going to layer this on here, blah blah blah. I'm playing the drums now. Okay, the bass in my brain is going, and he's singing that in his head and doing the arrangement, or he gets it in advance and then gets the groove down. Then the lyrics come, or the lyrics come first. Sometimes I've seen that happen. I've seen him spend a lot more time on lyrics than sometimes the music. The music seemed to come faster in the studio when he was doing session works or working on other people's stuff. But but the percentage of my time in the studio with him compared to what he did on his own was nothing. I mean, I was just utilized in dribs and drabs throughout my 12 years. I'd be on one song playing a session. I'd be on a couple songs playing a session. I maybe got a co-write on I got like 5 co-writes with him, which were just about the music, no lyric content or melody. It was just something he heard me doing during a jam or something, and he went, "Oh, that's a cool groove. I want to write something around that." So that's how my relationship was to him, because he didn't really take a lot of people's stuff. Wendy and Lisa, later on, they were pretty, you know, instrumental in like Around the World in a Day and Parade albums and stuff like that. And Purple Rain, we were all really involved with Purple Rain, I'll say that for sure.
So he would kind of open that up, in the studio to you. Do you guys feel like when he was working on something that you were able to critique anything that he did or offer suggestions?
No, I never critiqued anything. No, he never asked for critiques or anything, and I never gave them. I just would, like, he said, "You're welcome to come in and watch me anytime you want to hang out." And that would be that. And then he'd say, "Oh, here, play something a little on that. I might need, And that would, but I'd say he utilized Lisa quite a bit when she came into the band, and then Wendy. Purple Rain was a real group effort, though.
But I have often heard the word, and I think even I've seen him in interviews, like kind of allude to the fact that he was very much a workaholic. You talk about him loving being in the studio. Certainly a perfectionist. But when you'd see him create music, is that often how it went? Like, did he often keep things very raw? Like, would he just nail things in like one take, or was he somebody that would really keep systematically hammering through a song?
Yeah, we would do a number of takes usually. Yeah. If as a group, if we were in there with him doing stuff, for sure. But like Purple Rain, though, like the song Purple Rain was recorded live at First Avenue, then edited, and then it had some additional strings arrangements added on top, overdubbed, and so. But that was why that was such a cool song, is it was done live, the feel, everything. It was all very organic. And then the whole album was like that, really.
Yeah.
So that's why things sound really good when it's done in human form and human feel. And
What was it like? Going outside the studio and being on a stage with him? How would you assess Prince as a live performer? Because obviously he is known for obviously the singing and the great songs, but he's obviously has a guitar in his hands quite a bit. There's a lot of dancing, there's a lot of choreography involvement. Like, what was he like as a live performer?
I thought he was incredible. I mean, one time I was able to see him do a guest performance at a Lionel Richie show here in Minneapolis. Sheila E. was touring with him at the time, and they invited him up to do something on stage, and I'm out in the audience about, be 24 rows back or more, kind of almost to where the soundboard was. I think I was hanging out there. So he looked like this little guy up there, but he came up and did his thing, and he just, like, whatever he has, the thing, it filled the room.
Yeah.
The charisma, whatever he was putting out, was amazing. I could feel it. And I worked with the guy for years, but then being out front to see him do it like that.
Witnessing it
that way. Then I went, holy shit, I've been watching him from behind all this time.
Right. Yeah.
This is, now I get it even more. That was like maybe 1982, I think. It wasn't even, so.
And I have heard other people describe him that way too. So it doesn't sound hokey like when you say that, but I have heard people talk about this aura that he seems to give off. This almost like this otherworldly vibe. And I'm not trying to go over the top and sound like he's like some like mythical creature or something, but it really seems like some of the stuff he was able to pull off. And when you watch him do things, he really just looked very effortless.
Yeah, no, he's a hard worker. You can't deny. First of all, he had the talent that was given to him through his parents' DNA, I think, and God and whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And passed on to him, and then the exposure to all the music his father brought, and everything, and then later when he had to live with Andre Simone and his family, Andre's mother and stuff took him in.
Yeah.
So all of that exposure, and Andre's father was a bass player, or was a musician, I believe, that worked with Prince's father for a little while. But not only did Prince's parents get divorced, but so did Andre's.
Yeah.
So they both came from that environment of the, father not being around enough, or the mother having problems at home. So that really drove Prince's psyche. It does anybody's that goes up. It's a traumatic thing.
Sure,
for
sure.
anybody when you grow. I had that too a bit when I was
Broken.
like
Yeah.
14. My parents were separated for a year and a half, but they managed to save their marriage and put it back together.
Oh, they
And
reconciled. Yeah.
they did, but that's rare. That's rare when people separate. The odds of them getting back together are not as good. They'll use the odds are much higher that they'll divorce. And
And bring,
when I was a kid growing up, 50% of marriages failed.
oh yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, go
Yeah.
ahead. You were saying?
That's pretty staggering too. I mean,
Yeah.
but Prince has always obviously been pretty known as a pretty private person. Were you surprised when Purple Rain came out, because it was deemed somewhat autobiographical? That he would share, I mean, like with the world. Because up to that point, I think he'd always been looked at as this guy, certainly larger than life on stage, but very quiet, very private, very reserved. Obviously, some of the lyrics were like, risque. We certainly saw that side of him or whatever. But him as a person, though, didn't really seem to divulge too much of himself. And then suddenly he puts this movie out and it's showing, the tumultuous relationship. I don't know if it was to that degree or how real it actually was, but it did seem to be kind of like a glimpse into what his upbringing in his life was like. Were you surprised that he would put something out that big that was so personal?
A little bit, because he'd never been. I mean, he opened up to me. I knew a lot about what
Yeah.
he had been dealing with growing up
Yeah.
with various issues, with parents and stepfathers and this and that and the other thing, stories he told me. So he just, I thought it was good for him. I mean, I suppose that's a good way of putting out your story and showing yourself and who you are and where you came from. And I don't know. I'm not sure how accurate. I think they dramatized it a little further than the reality, obviously, because I know Prince's father never tried to shoot himself.
Yeah.
But it was kind of somewhat of a reflection, though, of how his upbringing, what he dealt with growing up.
Yeah. Just seems kind of surprising, because he does seem like, so, even throughout the years, you didn't see paparazzi really get at him a lot. You didn't see a lot of pictures of him caught out and about in the public eye or whatever. He really did a good job of somehow, I don't know how he did it or what his secret was. I'm sure other celebrities would love to know, but you didn't see him getting photographed, here, there, and everywhere. So, I mean, he was able to pretty much keep his privacy intact over his career.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. I mean, considering I'm sure there's probably people that would love to have pictures of him, or be sticking a microphone in his face. You see it all over the place now with paparazzi.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he didn't like paparazzi. In fact, he got in trouble for his bodyguards messing with some paparazzi the same night that We Are the World was videoed with everybody. And Prince was invited to be there, and he chose not to go. And then bad publicity happened because one of his bodyguards roughed up some paparazzi people.
Okay.
So that wasn't good. But Prince did contribute to the We Are the World project and gave Quincy a song and all that for that time. But I don't know. Prince, see, that's the thing about Prince. He's shy, kind of. He just didn't feel like he could be in the same room with all those people.
Right.
I think it was hard for him.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a competition thing or intimidation, or I don't know what it was. I was actually disappointed that he didn't do We Are the World. I wish he had. But I know from knowing his personality, I see why he chose not to.
Do you think particularly, I'm looking at the time frame of the 1980s. Do you feel like that there was any kind of competition, because there was so much made about other pop stars of the time, the Madonnas, the George Michaels? Particularly, I think about Michael Jackson, always being referred to as the king of pop.
Well,
during
first
that
of
era.
all, Prince was competitive, and Michael was I felt was almost all rabidly competitive, with his king of pop thing and his whole I'm the baddest and this and that. And then Prince had a similar attitude, but didn't put it out as overtly as Michael did.
Yeah.
I never appreciated that kind of behavior. That's not something that made me. I never liked that kind of bravado.
Yeah, I agree.
Braggadocio kind of thing. I feel like, okay, put your music out there. Everybody's got their shot at appealing to the public.
Right.
and not everybody's going to like you, and a lot of people may like you,
Right. Let the public
and
decide.
and
Yeah.
and why say you're the baddest when that person, maybe some people like him better than you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That always bugged me, but that's a thing. And people do that. They brag and they do histrionics and proclaim and get all narcissistic and stuff,
Yeah. There was a lot of talk too about the two of them collaborating. Do you feel like it was ever close to happening, or do you feel like that that the two of them would not have been able to successfully collaborate?
I think Michael would have. I don't think Prince could do it.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think his ego could handle that.
Yeah.
And then when they started to talk about the idea, and then they came to him to do the song "Bad" with the lyric, and Prince even said in an interview, when that was "Your butt is mine," I said, "No, it ain't."
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do this one.
He was not. Yeah, he was not going to sing that line.
So
Yeah.
maybe if it had been the right song, you
Yeah.
never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Now, what about
don't know.
Prince? What about Prince? Did you ever see the side of him, his spiritual side?
All the time.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And how did that manifest itself to the rest of you guys? What did that look like? Like, was Prince like big? And I know you said he didn't mention politics a lot. Did he talk much about spirituality? Any of that kind of stuff?
No, he wasn't preachy or anything with the band. He got like the Love Sexy tour was when he started to do a little preachy thing during the show. The band would break down, and 2/3 of the way through the show or halfway through the show, and then he'd do a whole interlude with talking to the audience about loving God and all that stuff. So that took me by surprise a little bit, that he started getting preachy at shows, and then he kind of kept doing that as time went on, I believe.
Yeah.
And especially when he became a proclaimed Jehovah's Witness.
Yes.
So, and I respect all that. If everybody's spiritual to some extent, there's atheists out there, obviously, who could give two shits about religion.
Right.
but they may not have had spiritual experiences to that yet, and those people need to open up to it, because if they're atheists, they're in for a big surprise.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. And so I want to talk more before I let you out of here about the book, and certainly divulge what you're comfortable divulging. Do you have a title for it? Do you have a release date for it? I'm sure people would love to know that.
No, I'm not. No. I don't have anything in place yet.
Okay. So we don't know like when it will be out or available. It's still a work in progress. In utero.
Right.
Okay. Do you feel like there's more books in you? Are you enjoying the writing process, or will it just be this one and done?
Yeah. There's more stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, what are you working on right now musically?
Well, I'm currently working on an album project, which is almost done, really, for an artist based in Utah.
Okay.
And the name of the artist is called Bipolar Buck.
Okay.
And he's a tech entrepreneur by trade, and he's also been a musician all his life, and he's done some recording in the past, but he's putting out this really interesting album that he's singing about his life.
And what is your role in it? Are you helping write? Are you producing?
I'm just kind of adding keyboard guy, and then there may be some live shows with some of the music at some point down the road. And I'm also involved with the company that he's putting together, which is going to help artists, independent artists, promote their music and keep track of all their sales and metrics and merch and all in one place.
That's great.
All in one place.
And now, do you share Prince's views? I know Prince, towards the end of his career, was very anti-contract. You know what I mean? Like, there was the whole era with writing Slave and all the issues with Warner Brothers or whatever. Did you agree with his philosophy on that, about how artists are treated by the labels?
This is how I look at it. um, when he first started out, he needed the machine, obviously.
Yeah.
And that back then it was, excuse me, back then it was strictly big record label machines and smaller independents, but to have the backing of Warner's or CBS or Sony or whoever, Universal, is great for an artist in those days because they had the money to promote you, give you budgets to do your record, budgets to give you equipment and tour support and all kinds of stuff in those days. But they didn't sign you unless you were amazing. I mean, you had to be, Whitney Houston or Prince or Michael. You had to be like really at the top of your game because they're going to put a lot of money into you.
Oh yeah, they want a return on the investment. Sure.
Right. So I look at that as, okay, great. Yeah, Prince, you did it. You succeeded as an artist, and now Warner Brothers should renegotiate with you to give you a better deal than what they've been giving you from the splits or whatever. I agree with that. But to diss them completely by writing Slave, I felt was inappropriate.
Yeah.
I think I believe he tried to negotiate and they wouldn't. So I just think, so then he maybe went to the Slave to insult them or
make his point.
Make a statement and make his point, and because they were treating everybody like that. And then you have to wait 30 years before you can officially own your masters again, unless they'll let you have control of them.
Yeah.
And then the trick in the business, if you want to own your masters sooner than later, is you have to re-record them.
I know.
Completely.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember hearing Prince talk about that in an interview where he couldn't own a song unless he re-recorded it again. Yeah.
Right. And Taylor Swift almost did this or started to do it because of her falling out with this Scooter Braun guy that was controlling her music. So there's a lot of evils in the industry for artists that they've had to navigate from a financial standpoint.
Quite sad.
So I agree, Prince, I agree with him rebelling against the system. And now hopefully going forward, artists will have better tools to be independent and make a living. That's all I can say about it. It's all in the luck of the. Are you going to touch a nerve with your music? Are you going to send a message to your audience that they can relate to, or that they're entertained by, or whatever it is? So that's the key. And also, if you're lucky enough to have great talent and have a big label behind you, that model is still there. It still exists, but unless you're really already big and successful, they won't give you front money to record your album anymore or to give you tour support. If they sign you and you're a newer artist, they will put promotional funds into you to promote your music or to get more listens on streaming, what it is, playlisting and all that stuff.
What about your own studio? Do you still have? Now, you used to have the operating room, correct?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm sitting in the operating room right now.
Okay, you're there now. Okay. Yep. And how's business?
Business is actually pretty good because obviously I'm working with this new company and playing on their music, and also being a consultant for their new platform that they're going to launch soon, and which is all music business oriented, including distribution and all that. And then I'm still working with a few other artists that I play with live or record with from time to time, and that's about it.
Now, we're still seeing a lot of stuff come out of the Prince estate. Obviously, we alluded into this interview, him being a workaholic, him being in the studio a lot, him creating. If you had to guess, I mean, do you feel like there's still lots of unreleased Prince stuff that we haven't even maybe scratched the surface yet? Like, I mean, is there still a treasure trove there that we probably don't even know about?
I think so. Yeah. I think there is a lot of stuff still in the vault, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then somebody was pilfering stuff out of the vault. Somebody, I don't know who it was, but it could have been hard to know. But back in 2004, I just want to How many people is this going to reach, by the way, this podcast,
Jesus, man, I hope a lot. I would love to.
Okay. All right.
Of course, I hope every episode reaches a lot of people.
Well, anyway, I just want to clear something up to people who may or may not know this, but back in 2004, somebody accused me of bootlegging on Prince's website.
Wow.
And then, yeah, and I somebody pointed it out to me. I wasn't really looking at Prince's website. Someone said, hey, somebody just mentioned that they think you're a bootlegger. I go, you got to be kidding. That's terrible. And then I thought I should really get in touch with Prince and try to dispel anything if he's, thinking that I may have done that.
Yeah.
So I thought, I didn't think anything of it. I let it go thinking, he can't possibly think I would betray him in any way that way or bootleg anything. So I let it go. But then I realized he stopped communicating with me. Well, the last time I talked to him was about end of 2002, actually. Okay. We were together hanging out. But after that, I hadn't heard from him much, a couple times, just phone calls, hi, how you doing, things, because I was already out of the band by, 7 years already, or more, longer than that, 12 years already at that point.
Yeah.
So then I realized there was no communication from him after 2004. And in 2007, when he played in Minneapolis at an arena, I tried to get tickets from his people, and they said he's not giving comps out anymore to anybody.
Even
I said, not even me, Dr. Fink from the Revolution. He's not going to let me come see the show. I haven't been to one of the shows in years, and I wanted to take my kids.
Yeah.
Who hadn't seen him. So I was forced to buy tickets. And then when I got to the show, Prince had brought Wendy Melvoin in to play Purple Rain on the first song of the show. Wow. And then later, Wendy was dismissed from the first song, and that was it. He never had her play anything else through the whole show. It was really odd.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe saving her to the end,
right?
He had her come up on the first song, and then said, "Okay, thank you, but good night. Great to see you, Wendy."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What the heck is going on here? That's so bizarre." And then I look out in the audience because I had seats way up on the side somewhere because I didn't want to spend a ton of money.
Right.
And Bobby, Rivkin, Z, and Wendy were sitting together on the main floor together, and I'm thinking to myself, "Well, wait a minute. Why wasn't I allowed to get tickets or to hang out with them?"
Kind of peculiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I didn't really put two and two together until recently about all this. I kind of was thinking about it again, going, I never bootlegged anything, but maybe that accusation stuck with Prince, and he thought I was being accused by somebody who knew something. And because then when I met, because when I met Prince much later in 2014 to talk about some other things, he asked me if I knew any bootleggers, and I said no, I don't know any bootleggers. I go, why? He goes, because if you know any of them, tell them for me personally to cut it out. I don't want them doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I went okay. So I put two and two together, like, oh my God, he maybe was mad at me.
Right.
Thinking I was had stolen music out of the vault and had bootlegged or something, some of the material.
But in your defense, though, you did try to reach out to him, though. The fact that you can't get a hold of him and clear the air is no fault of your own.
But his people wouldn't let me through.
Yeah.
It's like they were like, well, we can't put you through unless we know in advance he's expecting your call. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It was just bizarre. I said, get my info, tell him I need to talk to him, but they never did. So it's very strange. But in the meantime, I don't know.
That's a strange. Yeah, that is strange. And so I want to ask about the book. Will there be an audio version?
Probably. One more thing I wanted to say is that people over the years who had purchased or gotten bootlegs that were taken from the vault by whoever was doing it, they were sending me that shit. People were fans. Wow. We're going, hey, look what I got. You want a copy? A copy of what? And they go, oh, this is like a bunch of songs that would have been the fantasy something album by the Revolution or something. Not Roadhouse Garden, but something else.
I can't believe people would be that bold, though. Yeah, I mean, here it is, you're getting away with it, and now you're going to go kind of almost blow yourself in.
One was a double album in a CD case with artwork and everything, and it was all unreleased material, and they sent it to me from overseas. It was being sold in
Wow.
Europe like that. Yeah, I was in shock. I went, what the heck? How'd this get out? It wasn't me. I'll tell you
I
right
imagine
now.
I imagine posthumously we're going to probably still see quite a bit of Prince music. Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's an end in sight, because it sounds like he was in creative mode quite a bit of his life.
Well, he didn't sleep well.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. He's a 4 hour a night sleeper. But you know
Yeah.
what? This whole thing about sleeping and having this a lot of hours, it's I it's kind of a myth, I think. I've been talking
Yeah.
to some researchers that they think
I'm about a
you know
4 or 5 hour night guy too. I mean, to be honest,
yeah. All right, well listen,
if I'm
it looks
lucky.
like I gotta run here
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
for
Yeah.
another meeting.
Yeah. That's fine. I appreciate the time. I'm looking forward to the book. If you do an audio version, narrate it yourself, because you got a great voice for it, and I'd love to hear the stories in your own voice. Just something to think about.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm really
Thanks.
looking forward to it, man. And I always appreciate getting a chance to catch up with you, man. Stay in touch, man. When the book comes out or it's done or whatever, I'd love to have you back on to talk about it.
No problem.
All
Perfect.
right.
Thanks.
Thanks, doctor.
Take
All right.
care.
You too,
Thanks
sir.
for
Thank
having
you.
me.
And there he goes, folks. The great Matt, Dr. Fink, keyboardist, songwriter, producer. You know him. You love him. He was such a part of my childhood, from the great Prince and the Revolution. I think he was in the New Power Generation for a little bit too. But hey, for me, it's Prince and the Revolution all day, every day. That's the guy tickling the keys back there, man. You watched him in the Doctor Scrubs, the Mask, the whole kit and caboodle, man. Part of the greatest band of all time. Of course, that's just my opinion. Prince and the Revolution. I know Prince had other bands, you know, other, other incarnations, but for me, it'll always be Prince and the Revolution, with the classic lineup of Brown Mark, Wendy, Lisa, throw Des in there, Bobby Z, and of course Dr. Fink. For me, man, that is when Prince was. I know I asked him about when he thought the band was really cooking the most and really in their wheelhouse, but. When you're in a band with Prince, when aren't you in your wheelhouse? I mean, like I said in the interview, everything it seems like he touches turns to gold. There might be people that might disagree with that. Obviously, everyone has their opinions. This project is better than this project, is better than this project, but you can't find. I defy someone to tell me a Prince project that was not absolutely amazing, where Prince's DNA is all over it. I mean, there's just no way. And when he was cooking, really cooking, and when I got turned on him as a child. I mean, come on, man. The Purple Rain, Around the World in a Day, 1999, the Parade album, Sign of the Times. I mean, for a while there, man, the work was coming in hot, heavy, prolific, and absolutely amazing. And it didn't stop. It didn't stop. I mean, you go back and look at Prince's discography. I think there's like 39 total albums. So Prince was always churning out the music. And we also found out that this mugshot right here, fraudulent. First of all, it didn't sound like the incident in question did not happen in Mississippi. The doctor said it happened in Tennessee, but we do know that it did happen. We got clarification. All this stuff will be in Matt Fink's book, which obviously he didn't have a time frame on when it was going to be out. But he is working on one, and I can only imagine the treasure trove of amazing stories that will be in there, man. I can't wait. I know people might be saying, well, there's a lot of stuff out there on Prince already. A lot of people have written books or whatever. But, when you're getting an insider's look from a guy who was with him that intimately, as he said, on airplanes, in studios, in hotels, on the stage, creating, working side by side with a guy as prolific and as amazing as Prince, there's going to be amazing stories that are going to spawn from that. So can't wait. Keep your eyes peeled for that. When the doctor's book is close to coming out or is out, we will definitely have him back on again. So again, huge thank you to Matt, Dr. Fink. And it's great to see that his career is still going good. The Operating Room studio in Minnesota, still doing good. He's still churning out music. He's still working and still doing his thing. And he looks great, sounds great. Can't wait for this book. That was the part of the interview that really excited me the most, that Matt is putting pen to paper, or computer. Does anybody put pen to paper anymore? I don't know. But he's writing a book, and that's exciting. And I can't wait, because listen, there's never enough Prince stories for me. So I read and consume everything about the man. He is the epitome of what a musical artist should be, in my opinion. And that's not to impugn any of the other musical artists, because I have a wide variety, an eclectic taste. I love a lot of stuff. I like my music heavy, but then there's times when I don't like my music heavy. But Prince is one of those guys that is a mainstay all the time. And he always will be. So with that being said, hope you guys dug that episode. Make sure to stay tapped in, like and follow PodScum on Facebook. The Facebook page is Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum, 2 separate podcasts, both sharing a Facebook page. And of course, if you're watching right now, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell. And also remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.